Pleasure to be with you this morning, and a privilege to share with you. Some of you may know me, some of you obviously won't. So my name is Mike. I'm married to the lovely Angelica. We have 3 young children spread around the rooms. And I think also here is my grandma. Some of you may know Anne Turnbull, who's been over a couple of decades, and my in-laws somewhere hiding at the back as well. So just thank you for coming. Okay, well, let's get going. Got the timer there. So I've got a text to share with you, but before I do, I want to set a bit of context by telling you a story. So I want to go back to the time of King David. Now, King David had an army that was an incredibly successful army. They had victory after victory after victory. And the Bible refers to some of the mighty men in his army, and it calls them out by name in 2 Samuel. Now, of these mighty men, there were 3 that the Bible calls out and simply refers to as the 3 who were more honored and esteemed than any of the other mighty men, and even more so than the commander of the army, Joab himself. And one of these 3 was called, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce the name, but I'm going with Eleazar. And the Bible tells a few stories about the 3. They're short stories, but they're great. And one of these stories, there's a couple of accounts of it. One is in 2 Samuel, and the other is in 1 Chronicles. And it's about this man, Eleazar, who was one of the 3. And it says that the Philistines had gathered their troops for battle at a field of barley. And it says the men of Israel fled from before them. So they hot-footed it. They decided that they would live, they wanted to live another day. They'd run away. But 2 men stayed. David and Eleazar, they stayed. And they went and positioned themselves in the middle of this field, and they fought. And it says that the Lord delivered them with a great victory. And at the end of it, their hands cleaved to their swords. So there was such an effort and such an intensity. Oh, I love this story. It's a short story, but it's epic. It's sort of gladiator-esque, and it inspires me. I think, although none of us probably can relate to that in a very real way, I think we can all probably relate to those situations where we can see something in front of us, a challenge, an opposition, a fight, and we feel that what is required of us is greater than the resources we have, than what we possess. And there's that temptation, that strong desire to run away like the men of Israel ran away. What I love is that David and Eleazar, they didn't run away. They committed, and they positioned themselves intentionally for the battle. I love that this was an act of worship that moved God's heart, and it moved his hand. And we know that because God brought about a great victory. 2 men against a troop. And I also love the intensity of the effort that we hear about when we hear their hands cleave to the swords. They left it all out there. They were fully committed, giving it everything they had. This brings me on to my text. This is a proverb written by Solomon. I think might have been handed down to him by his father David. Solomon, a man of peace. David was a man of war. The proverb says, "The horse is prepared for the day of battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord." The victory belongs to the Lord. This gives me hope, because the victory belongs to the Lord. It is not mine. It is not contingent. It is not dependent on my resources, my skill, my strength, my perseverance. The victory belongs to the Lord. It gives me hope. It gives me courage to go into battles where I feel like I don't have enough. The horse is prepared for the day of battle is an empowering statement, because it gives me a role to play in the process. It gives me a responsibility to prepare. I have to prepare myself for the battle. The victory doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the Lord, but I have a role to play. I'm not passively waiting like a princess in a high tower, but I have a role to play. I'm empowered to do something. Here's the one thing that I want you to take away, I want you to remember from this story and from this proverb. There are some victories, some great victories, that can only be obtained because we have prepared ourselves for battle. There are some victories that can only be obtained because we have prepared ourselves for battle. Imagine if David and Eleazar, on that day, when they saw the Philistine troop and they saw all the other men of Israel running away, imagine if they too had run away. I propose to you that there would not have been that great victory that the Lord brought about that day. Church, we have received some incredible prophetic words given to us, some more recently, some slightly older. There are 4 of which that I'm personally really clinging on to. 3 were given to us as a church. 1 was given to John as he stepped into leadership of this church. They speak of, I've shared some of them previously in other contexts, but they speak of the promises of the Lord to bless us, to empower us and anoint us in the areas of business and finance and entrepreneurship, and that there would be an uplifting where other people might say elsewhere there's a downcasting, that there would be an uplifting in this church, and we would see and know the blessing and the reward of the Lord. Incredibly exciting promises. And John and Richard Lodge, a couple of years ago, they encouraged me, asking, how can we respond to these words? How can we prepare? How can we prepare ourselves for battle? And with their support and the support of a wonderful team, Fran and Simon Patrick and Andy Fraser, we have launched this year King's Entrepreneurs. We've taken a small step, but we have been running some small groups over the summer, making some plans for this coming term. They're small steps, but they are a preparation and a response, and we are trusting that victory belongs to the Lord, that God will show up and make the difference, that 2 men in front of a horde, a troop of Philistines, God can bring about a great victory. So I want to wrap up by asking you, what are the Lord's battles that he's called you to? And what is one thing that you can do maybe this week to prepare? And it might be as simple as sending an email or WhatsApp message. It might be as simple as setting some time aside, getting a piece of paper and a pen, sketching out that product idea, or grabbing a coffee with someone you look up to and bouncing an idea off of them. I want to encourage you to prepare, because there are great, great promises from the Lord. And if we will prepare ourselves, we can see great victory after great victory after great victory. David's era, he ushered in the time of peace and prosperity, the golden age of Israel. Remember, prepare your horse for battle, because the victory belongs to the Lord. Thank you, church.